I'm Gabe Abshire. This is Connecting the Journey. Welcome back to Connecting the Journey, where as entrepreneurs, we're always looking forward. The point of this show is to kind of step back and look back and see. I'm going to change this a little bit because of my guests, and look back and see all those God-wink moments that happen throughout our lives that we think we have control of, but we really, really don't have any control of. And so I'm really excited about my guests today. I was fortunate enough to be part of the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year program a couple of years back, and I got to meet Debra von Storch. During that time, I met her here in Dallas, and we spent a lot of time in Palm Springs at the event, and just such a wonderful person. We connected on so many levels, and so I'm really, really excited to sit back, get to know you a little bit, and talk about some of those God-wink moments that happen along the way.
Thank you, Gabe. I'm thrilled to be here.
I'm excited to have you. You know, we've got to spend a lot of time during the EY journey, and also afterwards. You were really giving with your time and open. So we've had lots of coffees and conversations, and we've always had great conversations. Like, why don't we sit down and do this on camera and see if we can inspire some folks and talk a little bit about your life and your amazing life that you have.
Thank you.
You came in today and said, I've got all this stuff. I'm on this call. I'm on all these boards. My hair's on fire. I said, well, Debra, I think that's the way you like it, right?
That's right. That's exactly it.
So where'd you get that from? Let's just start from the beginning. Where'd you grow up?
Grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, born in Fort Worth.
Okay.
Grew up in Hurst, LD Bell High School, North Texas radio TV major, and then went to EY, Ernst & Young, spent almost 4 decades there.
You're a lifer.
I am a lifer, and saw DFW Airport be built as a little girl.
Wow.
My stepdad worked for the FAA, and we would watch the construction. It was incredible.
Wow, and I mean, the DFW Airport and then everything around here.
Right.
What's your earliest memory of, people say, oh, I remember when Frisco was this. Like, what's your earliest memory of like something that grew up and how it was different when you were younger?
Well, so DFW Airport, and my first airplane trip, I came from a very modest background. My first airplane trip was my senior year of high school. I went to Harvard for a Model United Nations conference. First time on an airplane, first time in a big snowstorm, first time at Harvard. It was incredible, but that DFW Airport was the memory for me.
Okay, so you just said something. You were going to Harvard for what when you were a senior?
A Model United Nations conference in high school.
So how does that happen? Like, maybe let's talk about your family, and you said you came from a modest upbringing, but your parents had to expose you to certain things for you to be going to that when you were a senior in high school.
Well, they pushed me. I was very academically focused, very, very engaged in the high school extracurricular activities as well, and had this drive to excel. And we had a specific class on human geography and geopolitical, and each high school that attended Harvard was assigned a country.
Okay.
And my senior year, we got assigned Canada, which I would have rather had something look crazy like Uganda or India, but we got Canada and we studied, and then we debated geopolitical issues there at Harvard for 3 days.
Wow.
It was fabulous.
That had to be amazing.
It was amazing,
right?
But that helped me see world geopolitical matters, which has come back through my career at EY and now serving on corporate boards.
Definitely full circle going on right now. What was, so you said your parents pushed you. What'd they do for a living?
So mom was originally journalism, and then she became a school teacher so she could have better life balance, raising me and my younger sister. And then my stepfather worked for FAA. He was a computer genius, and it was the original Meacham Field. And then DFW Airport, he was in the control tower in the IT information.
So you really probably got a backstage pass
yes,
to really see that.
Yeah. Well, we would go out and watch the dirt be moved. They had telescopes that you could look through and watch the dirt. And then take it full circle. My husband went to the same high school as I did, but he's 6 years older. He was part of the crew making the street signs and planting shrubs out at DFW Airport as a after high school job.
Oh, wow. Definitely full circle. Well, so we talk about this thing, this God-wink, and I think I changed the opening of the show. I mean, that's really what it is, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, when you sit back as entrepreneurs, we're always looking forward, and you take that time to look back and be thankful for all those things that happened along the way. It's really those things that maybe you can't explain, there's some mystery there. Like if I wouldn't have been there, if I wouldn't have been open to something. And when we met in Palm Springs, you put that word in my head, and it's very, very fitting for life.
Right.
You know? So tell me, we're going to have that theme if that's okay.
Okay.
What's one of your early childhood God wink moments that really changed the trajectory of your life?
So you'll laugh. Romper Room.
Romper Room.
Romper
Tell me
Room
about
was
that.
a TV show, and when I was 3-ish years old, I was on that TV show.
Okay.
And it was just kids playing, but I was fascinated by all of the production equipment. And that's what first created my interest in television and radio TV.
Okay.
So that was a bit of a God wink, and then went to college for radio TV
And where'd you go to school at?
at North Texas.
Oh, me too.
Then, wonderful. Mean Green.
Mean Green.
So this was 78 when I graduated from high school.
And that's a big, I don't know the abbreviation, the film and
Yeah, RTV.
RTV school.
Yeah, it
absolutely.
was. So I got scholarshiped. It was
Okay.
fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And again, from a modest background, so the scholarship was very important. Mom and Dad worked hard. I worked hard too, but it was a great journey. But in 78, when I graduated from high school, my dad said to me, if you look at the few women on TV, in the news, as an anchor woman, they're tall, blonde, and buxom. And sweetheart, we can buy you a couple of those things, but you'll never be tall enough, so mine are in business.
Nice.
So I have all this radio, TV, and then a degree in finance and accounting and my CPA license.
Okay. Well, good. We could bring you back home a little bit.
That's right.
Into this awesome studio that we're in. So what was your experience like in North Texas? Mine was, maybe we can't talk about a lot of that on this show,
Yes.
but it was fun. But
Yes.
So that was in 70?
That was, I graduated in 82, so 78
Okay,
through
late
82.
70s, early 80s
Yep.
in Denton, Texas.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's hear some stories about
It
that.
was fascinating. I was a Pi Phi, Pi Beta Phi, and a
Okay.
little sister for Lambda Chi.
I was a Lambda Chi also.
Oh, wow.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, trash can punch.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Lots of parties at the Lambda Chi,
Lot-
which was off campus
That's
at
right.
that time.
That's right. Whereas the Pi Phis were in College Inn.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was fun. I have a lot of fuzzy memories about parties at the Lambda Chi house.
That's good.
But it was a great education because, again, I got radio, TV, and communications, and then quite a bit in finance and accounting and global business. So it was.
Fry Street
Yes.
Does the legend? Does it live up to the legend? Was it all it was? Fry Street Fair back in the day.
And then, do you remember the Texas Pickup? Did you have the Texas Pickup? Great restaurant.
No.
Yeah, there was that was the hangout, and
On Fry Street.
yeah,
Right around. Down on campus.
Right.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
fabulous. And the 1 o'clock lab band and the 1 o'clock lounge. I mean, great memories. But my fondest memories were really post-college when I went to EY and took all of that training from North Texas and got to apply it in a wide range at EY.
So what was your journey like out of North Texas? Did you go straight to EY?
I did.
And how'd you get into that ecosystem?
So at that time, everybody, all the big 8 professional services firms were interviewing on campus.
Okay.
And I also interviewed with brokerage houses, Merrill Lynch and those guys, as well as oil and gas companies. Arco was the big oil and gas company. But I really liked professional services. So I went straight to EY, and they let me use my radio TV background. I would host as a anchor woman training that was done through a cable channel.
Nice.
It was great.
Okay.
So I married the financial accounting, the tax, the SEC with my passion for radio TV.
So you got your anchor woman gig.
I
Right.
interviewed accountants.
Yeah.
Very technical accountants on new positions by the IRS or new SEC statements or Financial Accounting Standards Board. It was
Very exciting
Yeah,
stuff.
very exciting stuff, yeah.
What drew you? You said the big 8 were interviewing. What drew you to EY?
pardon me.
What drew you to them?
I went to EY because of the people, and I didn't feel like I had to fit into a mold. I was different because I had that radio TV background, and I really liked people engagement more than the technical stuff.
Yeah.
And
see that.
my nickname was Bubbles when I came to work, and one of the partners gave me that nickname and would scold me and tell me I needed to be low bubble, which I took to mean not so happy. But what he was telling me was that I needed to be more technical in my acumen. So it was style flexibility.
Nice.
But I remember getting lectured to be low bubble before I went to a client meeting. But the bubbles I got to use also in the radio, TV, and some of the other activities I had.
I bet you had to have a high emotional IQ in that environment, being a woman in that
Right.
environment during the day, number one. But just in that environment, it's not the most exciting
It's not
of
exciting.
fields, right?
Well, and then one of my first clients, the audit room was on the top floor of the building, and the CEO and the CFO had rules, and women were not allowed on that floor.
Oh.
And so rather than me sitting separate and apart from the audit and tax team, I got to sit in the supply closet with the door closed. Now, it was a great client, a great learning experience, but it taught me that I needed to be strong, firm, tough
So you're at a client's office,
in the supply closet.
but at the executive level, there's no women allowed
That's correct.
on that floor.
Well, there were no women executives at the company. That didn't exist at that time. Again, dinosaurs walked the earth, and men still wore hats. I mean, it was a crazy time.
What? It's really, you're talking about full circle,
Yeah,
right?
that was 4 decades ago.
Yeah. What was that like being? I mean, I've known you for a couple of years, but I don't think you've changed much over the years. You're a very strong personality woman, and how does that? I mean, how do you go into in that level of professional services into a organization that is all men, and you're working with them, teaching them, correcting them, showing them different ways to run their business? How was that?
It was hard, but it was rewarding. I was blessed to have a lot of mentors. There were the partner that made, the female that made partner number 8, she was the 8th woman, would pull together women, young aspiring women, and she'd take us to dinner. So I had mentors. The partner that hired me off campus from North Texas, she eventually made partner, and she became one of our vice chairmen. She mentored me. And then the guys got it and said, if we need more bodies to get all this audit work done, we got to hire the females. And so they started creating an environment of belonging and inclusivity. But it was hard. It was real hard.
I can imagine.
I remember going to
I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
Well, the petroleum club, so I went to the petroleum club to meet a partner for lunch, but the dining room he was in didn't allow women. So we had to move. You know, he's in the middle of having his cup of coffee. But again, we learned. What I learned more than anything was style flexibility. I needed to be able to adapt to the environment and flex my style. Because not everybody likes that bubbles or that smile.
Yeah, you got to be able to read the other person and understand.
Like you said, you've got to have EQ and IQ.
Yeah, for sure. So you were in that role for your first role there. How long were you in that role for?
Well, so I was a young staff person for 3-4 years, made manager, then senior manager. They have a promotion track, and then was admitted to the partnership in '95.
So what was the big change along that track? You were staff person for a couple of years, but what was your big jump in your career with EY?
My big jump came, I believe, in January of '99. So I was a young partner, and I'm in DFW Airport on the way to London for a project with one of our very large utility companies to do an energy trading risk management study for them. And an ice storm hit, and lo and behold, on that same airplane was a gentleman that was our global vice chair. And I knew him, and ice storm hit, we're delayed. I got to talking with him. He asked me, what are you doing going to London? And I explained. He said, well, come work for me. And we had just sold the management consulting arm of EY to Capgemini, and we're looking on how are we going to grow. and the regulatory headwinds were coming. So I, as well as a couple other partners, became the architects of our firm's strategy around non-audit services. But January of '99, ice storm resulted in a huge tipping point in my career, and I went to work for him in March of '99.
God wink.
God wink. And ice storm, God wink.
Ice storm in Dallas.
Yes.
He's on the same flight.
Yep.
And you had, I mean, you knew him, but you had to go talk to him.
Yep.
You had to open up that conversation and be open.
Exactly.
To have that interaction with him.
That exactly. And I had met him through the recruiting process. He was Ernst & Winnie. I was Arthur Young. The two firms merged in '89. He became one of our managing partners in Dallas. So I got to know him at the time of the merger as well.
So what did you focus on? That was a big jump. You were one of the first few people that were able to build this division. And what was that new division?
So we call the audit, again, I've now retired from EY.
Still we.
Yes, the audit side of the house is Channel 1. The non-audit side of the house is Channel 2. So we were the architects of Channel 2. And we were each given a greenfield company that we needed to be doing business with, that EY could clearly deliver value that the company needed.
Was that the more of the consulting side?
It was consulting and risk advisory, and so regulatory headwinds were coming, and that's when Sarbanes-Oxley happened. And so I did a lot of the Sarbanes-Oxley readiness work for a specific company headquartered in Canada. And so I represented them around the world and then did a lot of M&A for them and went into more of that non-audit side.
What did that do for you, for your career, the exposure to really the world, right? I mean, you as a global organization,
Right.
What did that do for you?
It launched me from a global business acumen. I knew the U.S. That's what I had studied, but I didn't know European tax laws or accounting regulations or the M&A environment or Asia. I went all over the world representing this company and helping them get ready for some of the new regulations that were happening worldwide. So the business acumen, the global business acumen, I wouldn't have achieved that. And that has now helped me in my boardroom work, now serving on the board of directors of public and private companies.
Yeah, you do keep busy.
I do.
Definitely
But
keep busy.
I learned I need intellectual stimulation and people engagement. So I can keep busy at my house, but that's, nah.
How'd you do during COVID?
Not well.
Not well.
Not well at all. It's comical. I would run out anytime the trash guys would come by or the delivery. I'd go out and chat with them because I needed people. And one of the boards that I sit on, we were considered essential. And so I went to their office quite often.
That's awesome. That's good. Yeah, I think for me during COVID, I was very blessed. We were blessed that we were essential and we could keep working. I was really excited that our company obviously could keep working, but we could hire people all around the country, and they could have this great work-life balance, and everything was great. But I'll tell you, I think the tides are shifting.
I agree.
For me personally, we had our kickoff this last week, and it was just so great to have. And we only had half of our team in the office, but the energy there was just amazing, right? And I think I realized over the week that I think it's affected me personally more than I thought, right? It's just kind of, I allow myself to get in maybe a little slump or a little cocoon and be comfortable at the house. But, and I would think if I'm feeling it, then everyone else is feeling it. You know, one of the things we saw that our access to kind of our like a insurance product for mental health, just, getting access has gone up over 50% over the past 2 years. Like people are just reaching out for help because they've just been in this little kind of cocoon. And so I'm hoping this is a year that we bust out of. I know we're going to be changing some things in our company. What are you seeing in the boards that you sit on and the companies you work with?
So all the boards that I sit on, they're wanting people in the office at least 3, if not 4 days a week because of creativity and innovation. But I believe it was Korn Ferry did a study of a new mental health issue called the concentration crisis. And so sitting at home Zoom, you've got Slack popping up, you've got text messages popping up, you've got email popping up, you've got the dog jumping up, you've got the delivery guy coming. Concentration. How can we concentrate if we've got all of these things happening and we're glued to this screen?
Yeah, and they're not people interactions.
Right.
Right. So there's no emotion attached to it.
That's right. That's right. So people are really going back into the office. At least that's what I see. I think it's still to be determined. I think it's going to be slow, and you're going to see push and pull from employees.
I think so, and I think the if from the employer stand back, let's get back in the office right away. But I don't think that's the right move. I think people need to see it for themselves. And what I've seen is that people have, okay, look, we're going to do 1 day mandatory, and then people start coming to the office, they get that feel, and then you move to 3 days. But I think it needs a shift to a privilege instead of a requirement. Right. I mean, if you're starting somewhere, you need to be open to coming back to the office because you're going to learn more, you're going to be more engaged. And then if the company offers that, then yeah, it should be a privilege. You should be able to earn the right to be able to have that hybrid schedule.
That's right.
I think it'll come back slowly, but I'm very excited to get things moving back along.
I am too. I like being out and engaged with people. It's critical for me.
What gives you your energy.
That's exactly
me and
it.
you're a lot alike.
Exactly.
So we talked a little bit about EY and the Entrepreneur of the Year program, which I was super blessed to go through. Actually had
and
lunch
congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. It was a awesome program to go through. I'm excited to give back. I had lunch with Morgan yesterday, so I'm like, dude, I'm here. I'm on the bench. Just let me know how I can help.
Excellent.
But tell me about that. Like, how'd you get involved in that program? And you chaired that program for many, many years.
Yep, for the Americas. So I had the tip of Canada through the bottom of South America, as well as Dallas responsibility. It was another God wink.
Okay.
So
I haven't heard this story, so I'm excited to hear this.
So 99 through 04, I was based out of New York doing the building of Channel 2, and would go Dallas to LaGuardia generally on Monday, and then Tuesday somewhere in Canada, or to Silicon Valley, or to Boston, or to London, and back generally through Chicago on Thursday night. And I needed to come home. I did that for 5 years, and I needed to really be back at home. So I said to my then fabulous sponsor, mentor, boss, let me come back. He said, I'd like you to come back, but I need you to take over this program. I need you to take over Entrepreneur of the Year in Dallas. I'm like, what do you mean? I've just served a Fortune 10. And he said, no, I need you to do this, Deb. I need you to do this. And that was the best ask I got out of my entire career. So he brought me back, and I took over the EY Entrepreneur of the Year program for Dallas. Loved it. Loved the energy, the innovation, the intellectual stimulation of entrepreneurs such as yourself that are creating jobs, growing our economy, creating new adventures. I loved that. And then I had the opportunity to chair for the Americas my last 3-4 years with the firm.
So what was your thought process when he asked you to do that? Because
I thought he was crazy.
You said, like, I've been serving a Fortune 10.
Yeah,
like,
it
you
was
want to come back and run this program.
Yeah, the company I was serving was 1/4 of the market cap of the Toronto Stock Exchange.
Oh, wow.
It was a
big deal.
It was, and I'm like, what? But what I learned is, okay, when you're serving a Fortune 100, a Fortune 500, a Fortune 1000, they need help executing. They've got the strategy. And they should. I mean, that's why they're a Fortune 1000 or bigger. Entrepreneurs want to brainstorm and test drive strategies. And I got to help with that. And that was so energizing.
Bringing your experience from working with those
From working in all these countries and working with a very, very, very large.
Yeah. Give me a little bit of an overview of what the program is, because some folks may not know.
So Entrepreneur of the Year was first created probably about 40 years ago in Milwaukee. And Alan Edmonds of Alan Edmonds Shoes was the first award recipient. And it was a way for then Arthur Young to recognize innovation and entrepreneurship. And we've seen, again, historically, the Fortune 1000 turns over. And so if you invest time and talent in serving entrepreneurs, you'll help them grow from early stage to rapid growth to market leadership to the Fortune 1000. So it's now in probably 50 countries, and it's just fascinating. There are regional ecosystems. Again, we're North Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, I believe is
Central,
that you participated in. And then there's regional programs, and there's a national program, and program being intellectual insight, thought leadership, ecosystem, and celebration. That's, again, for the United States in Palm Springs every November. And then there's the World Celebration in Monaco. Generally, I think June. I'm just trying to remember my dates.
Oh, nice.
It was fabulous.
It was an amazing program.
And again, congratulations, because you're driving the economy, and we need job creators, and that's what you are.
And that's what entrepreneurship is, you know. It came at a really good time in our business, right? And the process was just awesome. Everybody we met with was amazing. And every person I've had interaction with EY has been wonderful.
That's awesome.
And still in touch with them today, and excited to be part of the community, a part of the club. I told you, you said we get to go back every year. Don't worry, I know I'm in the club, so I'm going to go take advantage of it.
Exactly. Well, and even though I'm in my next chapter, having rewired after my retirement from EY, I still stay connected to that ecosystem. All the boards that I serve on, the public and the private, are all associated with EY Entrepreneur of the Year. All those CEOs I know from the Entrepreneur of the Year celebrations.
Well, it's an amazing program. If anyone's out there interested in it, please check into it.
Yes.
It was definitely a game changer for me, both personally and for our company, Utility Concierge.
Well, Gabe, in addition to you're side by side with Reid Hoffman and Jeff Weiner, who created LinkedIn, and Howard Schultz, who created Starbucks, and Michael Dell, who created Dell. And all of these companies were created as an idea and then grew from early stage to rapid growth to market leadership. And that's the same with Utilities Concierge. That's the same with what you're doing.
We're excited about our next phase in the journey. And I'll tell you, it all started, really, I have to be just a little bit of vulnerability here. It all started in Palm Springs, really just the thinking of kind of this next phase in the journey was, we're surrounded by all this energy and all these amazing people. And I really got to started there when I stepped back and I look back, it's like, we've created this amazing company, this amazing machine, and the market share is huge. Why aren't we thinking bigger? Right? And that's what that weekend in Palm Springs did for me. It just made me think
opened your eyes.
Better. Yeah, and what was possible.
Well, and even though it's a celebration and a program, it's more than that. It's an ecosystem.
Oh, for sure.
And just the connections. So you probably know everybody that could be clients for Utilities Concierge, but do you know people that are starting to build something totally different that could complement Utilities Concierge? I mean, so it's how do you create alliances,
collaboration, and the network and ecosystem of the people that can help us get us there. That was the other big aha was like, there's a whole community of people that are willing to help,
especially access to capital.
Yes, for sure,
which is fabulous.
How's that looking nowadays? Is that any relief in the capital markets coming soon?
I am hopeful. We get mixed views on, was 2023 a good year? Well, when you look at the IPO activity, it wasn't. No. Is there a lot of capital, dry powder sitting on the sidelines? Yes. But the cost of accessing that is still quite high compared to what we had during the COVID days.
Sure.
Are some businesses thriving, some industries thriving? Yes. Are others challenged? Yes. So it's how do we truly sustain the continued headwinds of the macroeconomic activity to tap into capital? It's still too expensive now.
Do you have a magic number in your head that you think that once it gets, because my feeling is that once it reaches that point, it's literally going to be like a powder keg, because there's so much dry powder on the sidelines.
Well, and I tell you, so I'm on the board of directors for an EV company that got taken public via a SPAC, and it's a fascinating journey. But as I've seen the backlash from ESG ebb and flow. It's going to be real interesting to see what takes off, because for a while there, it was all about the E. Environmental, EV, charging stations, infrastructure, batteries. So I think it's going to be based on what we, from a geopolitical society, need. What do we need? Do we need an alternative to fossil fuels and hydrogen and solar and wind? I mean, so to answer your question, is there a magic number? No.
Too many factors.
There's too many factors. I think we're blessed living here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area because our industries are so diverse. We have consumer products, we have real estate, we have medical, we have technology, we've got energy, we've got it all. We've got professional services. There's no one industry driving our economy. So we're very, very, very fortunate.
Yeah, we do live, we're a bit isolated from.
We're in a bubble.
We're not, we don't get hit so hard in the cycles. But speaking of cycles, you've been in this world for many, many years.
Yeah,
right?
I'm 6 decades of age, yes.
Yes, I didn't say it, you said it. But you've seen a lot, right? And is this a cycle we've seen before?
I think so, but there's a big difference. So my first 10 years with EY were in the financial services sector. I saw the boom of banking and then the crash and the formation of the Resolution Trust Company and the FDIC litigation and the bank failures. That was all because of commercial real estate and third world country lending, a whole host of issues, but a lot of real estate, multifamily and commercial. Now we're starting to see some problems in commercial real estate, not so much in multifamily, but commercial. But I think the banks have already recognized it, have already taken care of that and set up the reserves. So I think the financial services sector is stronger. So it's not so much like what we saw in the 80s. And then we saw the boom and the bust of technology. The .com boom and bust. Will we have that again? I don't think so. But AI did this, and now it's plateauing.
Yeah.
So have we learned? Maybe not so much. But overall, I'm very optimistic about the next few years. Am I optimistic about this week or next week? Not so much.
Next couple of years.
Yeah, and I think we have to get the elections behind us as well.
That's going to be a whole other topic. I'm not going to bring it
Yeah,
up right
let's not talk elections.
Yeah. So your next phase of your life, you hinted at that. What excites you about what you've got going on right now?
So this next chapter is a joy. And as I mentioned to you, my hair is on fire because I am busy and I'm loving it. I love being in the boardroom. I love board governance. I love the intellectual stimulation of the business. I love the people engagement. I'm thoroughly loving it. There's also one other activity I have, which is NACD, National Association of Corporate Directors. I'm on their North Texas board, and that is fabulous.
And what do they do? What's that?
We are convened board members from public, private, nonprofit, and we meet monthly, and we have a big summit in Washington, D.C. It's a global organization. It's fabulous, but it's about board governance. So I'm getting that intellectual stimulation and people engagement.
Yeah.
So I love that. I chair the Women Presidents Organization Zenith chapter, which is 21 women from 5 countries, and we meet 3 times a year, and I'm essentially their advisor, for lack of a better word, and convener. And we're meeting in Washington, D.C. in April, and the topic's going to be geopolitical and what's going to happen with these elections.
It's really interesting to see your career and your breadth of work. You really have a global view on everything. It's always fun to chat with you about that.
It's fun. I like seeing the world.
Yeah. Speaking of, we didn't talk about your family. What's your family makeup, and what stage or is your family in?
Well, so I am a grandmother now. My grandmother name is Mia because I'm Sicilian.
One, not Nana.
No,
Mia,
I
that's
am
a good
Mia.
And what's your husband's name?
My husband is Opa because he's German.
Okay.
Very
All right.
German.
Opa and Mia. That's a good combo.
And we love it. Our son and daughter-in-law live in Dallas, and so we see them often. Our grandson is almost 3, and our granddaughter is 1. So I get to visit and have one or both of them periodically, generally a couple times a month, which is a joy. So I get to disconnect, get away from digital, and it's all about them and
That's
playing
awesome.
with them.
You get a second, not a second chance, but a second
Yes.
journey with them in a different role.
Exactly.
So I'm going to ask you, so I've got a 12-year-old, soon to be 13-year-old, and 14-year-old. What, in that age, I'm going to ask you a selfish question. I'm always wanting to learn from folks. In that age, your kids were obviously successful, right? In that age, what did you pour into them? What did you really focus on in that kind of late middle school, high school years? Because me as a parent, I'm like, I just want to just over pour and over expose. And, you know, I talked to someone about that, and they're like, look, at the end of the day, just like most things in life, you don't have much control, right? The odds of you screwing them up are pretty slim.
Yeah.
But you need to pick and choose your battles. What battles did you choose?
We wanted our son to be very active academically and sports, because sports teaches you the spirit of teaming.
Yeah. And discipline.
So discipline, teaming, regimen, exercise, but so does the academics. So we were very engaged in the sporting activity, less the school activity, because he knew what was expected of him.
Yeah.
But sports or other extracurricular activities, whether it's sports or student body organizations, but that was very, very important. But what I found is once he graduated, all of our friends were parents of the other kiddos from sports. And how do you keep that ecosystem of parents together? And then people move away. So what has become my ecosystem is now the board groups. But I would suggest to you, be as involved as you can and aware.
Yeah.
We didn't have the influence of social media like you do. I would stay very aware of what's happening.
Yeah, my kind of word of the year for him is, for both of them, is just exposure, right? How do we expose them to bigger and better things,
exactly.
greatness, and what that looks like?
Exactly. World travel, or even just going to our museums here in Dallas and seeing the world of what we've got here in Dallas. It's fabulous. The Holocaust Museum, Dealey Plaza, all of that stuff is just fascinating for the kids to actually see. I was a field trip mom. I always made sure I was back in town when I was doing my traveling to New York and elsewhere to be a field trip mom, because I wanted to be part of his eye seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a fun journey, and I mean,
God bless you. You got
I know
some challenges ahead.
You know, and by doing all that stuff, I think you expose them to more of these God Week moments we talked about, and I think helping them realize that along the way is really important. You know, exposing them, and you know, daring them to big dream. That's what to dream big. That's what entrepreneurship's all about. And
That's
so, how do we influence that on our children with all while letting them be their own person?
Exactly. So our son works for EY now.
Oh, he does?
He graduated from A&M with an engineering degree, and both he and our daughter-in-law started at EY. Wow. And our son is still there.
Is that where they met?
No, they met in A&M.
Oh, at A&M, okay.
They're both engineers, as I call them.
Engineers.
Engineers. But what's fascinating is I would take him to the office on Take Your Child to Work Day. And then he volunteered on some of our volunteer days when we were serving the community. And then he would attend the EY Entrepreneur of the Year activities.
Exposure.
So exposure.
Yeah, you expose them to those things. Well, awesome. Thanks so much for spending time.
It's a joy.
Said we've had lunch and coffee. I'm like, why is Debra not on the show? We should be sharing all these awesome God Week moments and your plethora of knowledge and history. And it's always a pleasure to spend time with you. And thanks for spending some time with us on the show.
Oh, Gabe, thank you. This is a joy, and I'm thrilled that we're staying connected. So thank you.
I'm looking forward to a bright future together.
That's right. 24, 25, and on.
It's going to be great. Guys, thanks again for spending some time with us. As always, take the time to look back at those God Week moments that got you to where you are today, and so you can go forward with gratitude. Have a wonderful day. Thanks.